it's Sound and Vision ASMR, but today I'm going to be your ASMR guitar tutor. So, if you're ready, we can get right started. This is going to be a very basic lesson, and of course, just playing guitar out loud isn't really what we do in ASMR guitar lessons, so I'm just going to be making very gentle sounds. Not even like that, just very muted strings, and talking you through the parts of the guitar while making hopefully some nice noises of the wooden sounds. So I think that's a good point to start. I'll show you all the different parts of an acoustic guitar for you to get to know them if you're not already familiar. So we'll start on this side of the guitar. Seeing as it's the side closest here. So the most obvious thing is this big wooden area. I'm going to make some sounds. Now, the guitar is obviously hollow, and the top of this wooden bit is called the soundboard. Around here we have the sound hole on the soundboard. Now, this is what lets the sound come out of the guitar after it resonates through the body. It's what projects the sound out. If there was no hole here, you would get very little sound coming from the acoustic guitar. So that is around the outside. You can see as you pat the guitar, there is a sound that comes from it, just the sort of resonating strings. So that is the soundboard and sound hole. Around the sound hole is this pattern here, which is sometimes called a rosette, though it doesn't necessarily have to be a floral design, though it often is in classical guitars. This is just an acoustic guitar rather than a classical guitar, so that term isn't so often used. Down back to this end again, we have the saddle. As you can see, it sort of saddles the whole guitar, does that make sense? And on top of the saddle, we have here this section, which is known as the bridge. This is made out of wood, the saddle, and the bridge here is made up of this white part, which is often made out of plastic, or in old guitars sometimes made out of bone, and then pegs which hold the strings in place at the bridge. Moving up the guitar, we have the fretboard. The fretboard goes all the way up the length here, which is the neck of the guitar, all the way along here. The fretboard is at the top of the neck, the string is pushed against one of the frets, which fixes the length to the exact length from that fret to the bridge that we just spoke about, which corresponds to a certain note depending on which frets you push it against. So I'll just do some light tapping. That's the sort of sound you make when you tap the fingers. Hopefully you can see that. I don't want to make any loud sort of notes, just the percussive sound of putting the fret to the fretboard. Like so. Now I'm going to have to rearrange the guitar and put it down like so to demonstrate the next bit, which is the head of the guitar. Now this is going to make some interesting sounds, but first, this bit is called the nut, N-U-T, nut, and it is what's kind of the opposite of the bridge. It provides another solid point which these strings are fixed into. Again, it's made of plastic or an older guitar's bone. These are then the tuning pegs. You twist these to adjust the tension in the strings. The tighter you pull them, the higher pitch the sound. But the idea is to tune them to a standard tuning. That way when you play with another instrument or to a song, it's the right notes, and also the strings relative to each other. They all need to be such that when you hold down the 5th fret on each string, it corresponds to the next string up, apart from on the 4th and 5th strings, or the 2nd and 3rd, depending on how you number them. As you might have noticed if you got keen eyes, I have this attached, which is why you can hear the sounds of the guitar. It's not actually being picked up by a microphone, rather by this clip-on amplifier, or clip-on pickup I should say. The amplifying is done in the computer. So, we'll go on to looking at the strings of the guitar, I think now. So, there are open strings, which you can play like this. Hopefully you can hear that. Now, each string, as I said with the tuning, has a different note, so we'll go through the letters of the notes. The lowest string, what I'm going to call this 6th string, is E. So this is E. This is normally played with the thumb. So that's what I'm going to do today. You can also feel the string like that, and you feel that it's very rich, sort of riveted. It's got bumps going along. This is because it's wrapped in a metal. I'm not exactly sure what type, but it's normally a nylon centre with metal wound around the outside. should still be a difference in the pitch. Now, the last wound string is the G string. And yes, the G string, the joke of all the guitar strings. It sounds, if you're a guitarist, it's quite common to say play something on the G string, or your G string needs tuning up, but I understand that could sound funny to those uninitiated with the strings of a guitar. Anyway, next up, you'll hear if we rub my finger across, this creates a smooth sound. That's because this is an unwound string. It's just a single wire of metal going through the centre. I talked about nylon centred strings. That was for a classical guitar, because I remembered this is just an acoustic guitar. This has metal strings throughout, so even these top strings, which on some acoustic guitars are made out of a clear nylon, here are just a single thread of metal wire, essentially. So yes, this is the B string. And then after that, we have an E string again, which is strange because you'll recall I said the sixth string down here was the E string, but there are two E strings, the low one and the high one. Another thing I'll show you quickly is that I was just holding this and making muted sounds. I'll just do a few patterns. But you can, if you hold your fingers gently in certain positions, create what's known as harmonics. So on the 12th fret. Sorry about the B string there, that didn't go so well. But you get the idea, it's not the full sound. It's just the second harmonic of the strings, so they only vibrate from here, through to here, and through the 12th fret where your finger is to here. It's the second mode frequency of vibration of the string. And the same can be done at the 7th fret, which is splitting into 3, and it goes on. Anyway, so those are the open strings. There's lots of stuff you can do with open strings, but for now, as we're not going to make any sounds, only muted sounds, I'm going to show you some finger picking styles. Now, for an acoustic guitar, a common thing is to use a pick, like so, a pick or a plectrum. And this will be done by holding it in the thumb like this, with the finger like that, just in 2 fingers, and then to pick like so. So you just pick with the very end. And a common technique if you're playing fast is to pick up and down, which is known as alternate picking. You can even do it on different strings as well. This isn't meant to sound like anything, I'm just picking random strings to show how you can switch. So that's one way of playing the guitar. Another way, which is more used for